Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. The California Educator Reporting System, or CERS, gives early access to statewide assessment data. Today's session is going to focus on how participants can access our summative assessment data in CERS. This training is brought to you by the California Department of Education and is meant for all current and potential CERS users. We're currently in Module 2, which is going to focus on the Smarter Balanced ELA and Mathematics, the CAASPP, which stands for the California Science Test, and the California Alternate Assessments for ELA, Math, and Science. Last week, our module was all about the Summative ELPAC and California Spanish Assessment. All right. Let me introduce you to your two trainers who are going to take you through the rest of our time together. We have with us Erin Gordon from the San Diego County Office of Education. And we also have with us Joe Valero from the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And I'm going to hand you over to Erin.
Thank you, Nikki. As Nikki said, I'm Erin Gordon, really excited to be here. So let's jump into our agenda. So at the end, by the end of this hour, we are all going to know how to access the summative assessments in CERS, know how to find them, what to look for, and we're going to be able to locate some of the CERS resources that we have found very, very helpful. And then finally, we're going to address your questions. So make sure you put those questions in the Q&A box. All right, well, last week, as Nikki mentioned, you may have joined us for Module 1. How many of you joined us? I'm curious. We focused on the summative assessment scores for ELPAC, alternate ELPAC, and the CSA. Oh, I see a little emoji going across the screen. So we have some folks that are joining us again. That's exciting. Well, today, Module 2, we'll be covering the Smarter Balanced ELA and Math and the California Science Test, CAASPP, as well as the California Alternate Assessments for ELA, Math, and Science. And you might have noticed that this year the modules are a little shorter. Based on your feedback, we've tailored the trainings, shortened the trainings so that we can jump right into the summative results. So we listened. All right, we do want to highlight some of our other trainings because they are now available on demand. Okay, first, the Introduction to CERS, which we held last summer and in the fall. They are recordings of live facilitated trainings. And you'll find one for the coordinators and administrators, and then there's one geared for teachers. In addition, we have what's called the micro learning videos. They cover the same content, but they're chunked in shorter sessions. They're much more flexible, so you can choose the portions that you want to watch of the entire training. Then finally, we held the CERS Beyond the Basics series. I believe that was in February and March this year. We had 3 modules. So rostering and reports for coordinators and administrators. We had the custom groups and ISRs and the writing extended response scores and related resources. And I have to point out, Module 2 and 3 are especially useful for teachers. So check those out. And again, all of these recordings are on the upcoming and on-demand trainings webpage, and we've linked that into the resource guide that Nikki has been putting in the chat for you. All right, I know what's on your mind. When are the results going to be available? And many of you know the answer. The Smarter Balanced ELA and Math, as well as the CAASPP results, they are available. Well, they've started becoming available last week, so mid-May. Yes, there was a communication that went out to LEA coordinators last week with information that ETS is beginning to release those test scores. So we are excited, yes. And obviously it depends on when your students test it. So if they're still testing, of course, the scores won't be available yet until they're complete and scored. But those that tested early on in the window, you are probably starting to see those populate in the system. So just want to point out, and you'll see this, and we're going to repeat this, that the data in CERS is available so early this year, so early, much more sooner than the public release, of course, but this is the earliest I can remember. I don't know about you, Joe, but this seems pretty early, which is exciting. So CERS houses detailed and actionable data. It really is designed to help teachers, educators reflect on what went well, right? And then what changes can be made for improving teaching and learning in the new school year. So getting these results this early, super exciting. And it's pretty amazing when teachers know how their students perform before they leave for summer. Amazing. They have the ability to start planning much earlier. This really is empowering for teachers. Now, I do want to remind everyone that teacher access to CERS, it requires two important things. First, they must have an appropriate role in TOMS, the Test Operation Management System. That is number one. Number two, the students must be assigned to the teachers in CERS through the process we refer to as rostering. So that's really key. That has to happen in order for teachers to be able to have access to the results to their students in CERS. Now, if you have questions about that process, we recommend in our microlearning video series that I mentioned earlier, the managing users and student groups section. And we have linked that also in your resource guide. All right, so let's do a quick overview of CERS, just make sure that we're all on the same page before we jump into the results. All right, we fondly refer to CERS as our one-stop shop for state assessments because CERS houses results for not just the summative CAASPP and ELPAC results, which we're talking about today and last week, but we also have the interim assessment results. Now, as I mentioned, CERS gives us that earliest access to the most recent assessment data, but we also have historical assessment data. We know that when you combine the current prior year assessment results along with other key information like classroom assignments and teacher observations, it really can help guide instruction and move the learning forward. So I want to point out that CERS was created with the input from the field. And, the CDE, they continue to invite that feedback. They want to improve. They want to provide enhancements. And actually, last month, we saw this in action. They increased the maximum size for student groups to 400, and that was a direct result from the feedback received from the folks like you today. So definitely contact the CDE with that feedback. They listen. All right. So, oh, I almost skipped a slide. Okay, so as I mentioned before, one benefit of CERS is that we receive access to results prior to the public release. And in CERS, the types of data displayed for the aggregate reports for the summative assessments, we're going to see grade level assessed, average scale score for the group, the number of students in the results. And I think that's really important, especially since the scores are populating. Make sure that it represents all the students in that group. So be cognizant of how many students have tested, especially right now as scores are rolling in. It also gives us the student score distribution by overall performance level. Now, the beautiful thing about CERS is in addition, we get more granular information that's available than the overall scores. So for ELA, CERS gives us the writing trait scores, as well as the Lexile report and the target report. We also get those composite claim level information, those scores. For math, same. We get the composite claim level information, the target reports, but we also get the quantile report. And then CAST, we get the domain level information. And then, of course, we get this down to the student level information. We have access to the individual student reports, or ISRs, which are really a powerful tool for teachers. All right, so you may be familiar with the sandbox, especially if you've joined us on our previous trainings. We love the sandbox, and we're going to be using the sandbox today. It allows folks to get familiar with the features of CERS in a non-secure environment. It has the same features and functions as the live CERS environment. But there are some differences I want to point out. First, the purpose. So the sandbox is designed to be a training tool on the CERS features. It helps us learn how to navigate the system, whereas the live CERS environment, that's designed for educators to really dig deep into the data and analyze their data. And you're going to notice some wonky things in the sandbox. I always use this example. You're going to probably see a student that has results from both the alternate assessment and the general assessment in the same year. We know that would never happen in the live environment. So just be aware when you're using the sandbox. The second difference is security. The sandbox, it uses fictitious data, and the interim assessment items in the sandbox, those are publicly released sample items. So there is no need to worry about keeping the items or student information secure in the sandbox. The third and final difference is how you access the system. All right, with CERS, the sandbox, you actually select a role. But within the live environment, you're going to use your TOMS credentials. So one of the most powerful things with being able to select a role, you can actually view what CERS looks like as a teacher or as an administrator or as a district administrator. And that ability to look at the different vantage points of the different users is really powerful, especially for training and support purposes, because you can go in as the different levels, grade levels, like a high school teacher or an elementary teacher, as well as the actual roles. So really great feature for CERS Sandbox. And with that, I am going to pass it over because I know you want to jump right into the results. So I'm going to pass it over to Joe Valero, and he's going to take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. Joe Valero from the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. Glad to be here with everybody today. So thank you, Aaron, for going over, giving us that overview. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to transition over to a live demo and really getting into the summative results inside of CERS. So we're going to talk about English language arts, math, and science results, once again, within the system. And just like we said, we're actually going to do this as a live demo. So once again, a lot of this was based on feedback. And so there was the want to go over and see more live demos. And so what we're going to do already is we're going to actually minimize this screen, and we're going to go into the Sandbox account with CERS to go over and look at what some of this data looks like inside of CERS. And so with that, I'm actually going to minimize my screen here. And so what we're going to do right now, and we can still see my screen, right? We should see CERS right here. Okay, so inside of CERS, we have two options. We have the live CERS site, which we're not using today because as Aaron was talking about, there's real student information in there. What we're using today is the CERS Sandbox. Great resource to go over and use for trainings, just to go over and test out what these reports are going to look like. And so for purposes today, I'm actually going to be logging in as a sample elementary teacher. So it's going to look slightly different than what the live environment looks like. But once I do get in, and I'm actually going to choose 5th grade here. Here we go. This is probably what looks most familiar to us. We're inside of CERS, and we have this view of just the different distribution of scores, years, so on and so forth. And so what we want to go over and point out right now is you have the option to go over and select the different assessments inside of CERS. And so if I hit this little plus sign, notice everything's opening up for me, and all of the results that are available to me, I can actually choose the different assessments. So one of the little keys that I like to use this time of year is I like to look for the word summative. Summative is going to tell me in any of these names, oh my gosh, you're looking at the ELA summative assessment, or you're looking at the math summative assessment, or maybe it's the summative ELPAC, or you're going to look for the CAST with a T, science test, right? Summative assessment. And so it's usually what I'm trying to look for right here, just to make it a little easier, because if we're administering interim assessments and we're administering some other assessments, you're going to have maybe a lot of choices in here. So once again, that word summative is going to be really, really helpful for us. And so speaking of summative, I'm going to choose the CAST summative first, because we have actually a lot of schools over here locally where we're getting a ton of results in, and there's a lot of excitement going on. And so I'm going to choose CAST summative first, and then I'm going to close this guy. That way I can see less. And so what it's going to give me immediately is just what is the distribution within the performance levels, level 1, level 2, 3, and 4. What percentage of students were, once again, that 1, 2, 3, and 4. If this isn't the way that I want to view and I want to see the actual number of students, I could always just change it from percent to number. And so I'm going to switch it back to percentage though. And so you probably saw I hid the results, but when I click on show results, all of the students appear down right below. We're going to see it by student name. Once again, this is all fictitious. These are not real students. This is just a sandbox account so we can go over and familiarize ourselves with it. So you're going to see all the student information, the date that they took the test, so on and so forth, the levels. The really great thing about being able to see this inside of CERS, and just a very quick aside, thinking about what we used to do years and years ago, we would get these printed out. Usually they were hard copies, and it wasn't really dynamic. You couldn't go over and sort and filter. That's the beauty of being able to do this inside of CERS, because if I click on these, I can actually sort by lowest scale score to highest scale score. Maybe I want to sort by achievement levels. You can sort achievement levels. Maybe you want to go back and sort it by, once again, student name. That's why you want to do most of the work inside of CERS, because once again, if you want to go over and you want to filter, you want to sort, you want to move things around, this is going to be your best friend. So I'm viewing this by students right now, and I'm viewing this by performance level, achievement level. What if I want to go over and get a little more granular? Remember, I'm viewing this from a really high level. Inside of the science test, that is broken up by domains. So notice I'm viewing this by overall right now. I can easily change this to domain. Let me view this through the lens of how we're performing within the domains: earth and space sciences, life science, physical science, and the percentages of students that are above proficient, at or near, or below proficient. So it's giving me more detailed information. And here's the really beautiful thing after that. If I scroll down, notice it even changed all of my student views as well. So now when I'm looking at Johnny's information, it's not by achievement level, it's actually by domain information, domain levels. So we could see how he performed earth, space sciences, life science, physical science. And remember, we were talking earlier about you can go over and sort within CERS. So maybe I just had to focus on making it up, earth and space sciences. And I really want to have that focus of how are my students performing top to bottom, earth and space science. So I can easily go over, click, sort by, give me below proficient first, or switch it again, above. So it's the ability to go over and sort top to bottom, use it as that compass to go over and just dig deeper and get more information. And this right here was our science, once again, the CAST. But if I want to go over and switch assessments, and let's say I wanted information on ELA summative, remember, for me, once again, that's just me, that's what melts my butter. It's summative. That's what helps me go over and look for things within here. So I was looking at grade 5 CAST summative. Let's say I wanted information on ELA summative grade 5 instead. So I clicked on ELA grade 5 summative. And so there's a couple of ways I can go over and clean this up because notice CAST is still on there. So I'm going to be actually looking at, if I click hide results, now I have two different sets of information on here. And that's great. Maybe some people like the extra information. I don't. I can't handle too much information. So I'm going to get rid of them. A couple things I can do. I can either click on the X, it'll get rid of CAST, or I can just click it again and it's gone. And now I have less anxiety. Look at that. I only have one assessment that I'm looking at right here. And so same thing, we see ELA summative grade 5, and we see the achievement levels. And notice we even have our new achievement level descriptors right here, minimal, developing, proficient, and advanced. And you'll see that also inside of yours. You're going to see the distribution. I can change this to number if I wanted to. And then if I want to see the results, I'm going to open this up. And we can do the same thing. I can sort, once again, lowest scale score to highest scale score. We can see when the date was, when the test was administered. But we can get even more granular. If I click the drop down, I can change the view from results by student, and we can see this by writing trait scores, which is something that is very valuable. Now, one thing I want to point out, remember, this is a sandbox account, so some of the things you're seeing here are going to be extras. So typically in 5th grade, we wouldn't have the 5 different genres that are assigned. We usually have 3. So just once again, keep in mind, I'm in a sandbox account. Your account, it'll show the 3 if you're in the live environment. So we're looking right now and we can see our writing trait scores, what is contributing partly to these overall scores. And so once again, we're looking at argumentative, and you can see the different categories: evidence and elaboration, organization and purpose, conventions. You'll also be able to see what percentage of students scored a level 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Now, if you have a student that earned a level 0, there will be a condition code that you'll be able to go over and get inside of CERS. Usually through the ISRs, you'll be able to see how many students were off topic, off purpose, it was insufficient or it was blank, so on and so forth. So you'll be able to get that more granular information. But you can see this by genre. So right now I'm just looking at argumentative, but you'll also be able to see what did that look like for explanatory, once again. And you'll have 3, depending on your grade level. If you're high school, you'll have 2. But you'll have the different genres that you'll be able to go over and dig deeper into. And it's just a start. Once again, it's a compass. It just gives us direction. This is interesting. Might need to go over and dig a little deeper into some of this information. Those are the writing trait scores. You're also, depending on the number of students you have, if you have 30 or more students, you'll even get target reports. And we're going to go a little deeper into target reports here in a few minutes when we start talking about what it might look like on the administrator end of things. But you'll also get target reports. Once again, going from that high level to getting more granular, getting to what might be some areas of opportunities with my students and some areas of celebrations as well. And the last thing we want to point out are the Lexile measures. These are super powerful. And so we get these scores really early, and Aaron was talking about it earlier. Back in the old days, we would get results in August or September. That was a whole brand new school year by the time we were getting results years ago. Now, think about where we are. it is May 20th, and there are a lot of scores in the system already. And so with that current reality, how might we use this data today to go over and help us plan for our summer school now or for next school year and reflect on this year? So why am I talking about that? Because these Lexile measures are really important when you're talking about reading groups, when you're talking about getting just right books, looking at Lexile ranges, getting one at the lower part of your range, the upper part of your range. Library books are usually leveled by Lexile range. So you have that information at a much earlier stage. This is just reading right here. When we're talking about math, we get quantile levels. So there are some great trainings that are on the website, on the CAASPP and ELPAC website from Metametrics about Lexiles and quantile measures. I highly encourage going over and connecting or excuse me, I'm getting on those videos to go over and just get more information if you'd like more information on them. But all of this is already inside of CERS. We're able to see, once again, all these different results by student, once again, writing trait scores, target reports, and Lexile reports, all within CERS right here. And this, once again, is what the teacher view looks like. Now, let's say we wanted target reports, but we wanted to get it more from like high level, and maybe it's like a principal or district level. And so it's going to look a little different. And typically the live environment doesn't look like what I'm doing right here. I'm just doing this just for the sample. So I'm going in as a sample district. And so from here, how might you access those really cool target reports? If you're at a district level, well, you can generate them real easily. This is what it looks like if you are a coordinator or like a site educator, district educator role. You click on custom aggregate report. Great reports that are available for all of us. But right now we're talking about targets. So I'm going to click on target report. This is a sample district. And I was looking at 5th grade, so why not? Let's continue on with 5th grade. I can choose whichever subject I'd like, 25, 26. I would encourage that we don't do it by student group yet. That's something you do in the future. But when you're initially looking at data, once again, just the way I like to look at it, I like to keep it as simple as possible. So let's get that high level first. Then we can start getting more granular down the road once we've gotten a pretty good idea. And you can see the way I name all these all the time, test 9, test 14, whatever it is. Sometimes you'll see me say blah, blah, blah. And you're going to see why I honestly don't care what I even name my reports, because here is the really cool target report. And so you're going to see the claim, the target, student group, number tested, performance relative to entire test, so on and so forth. You can export this, and it's going to export as an Excel file. And once again, thanks to the feedback from the field, our colleagues at the California Department of Education and Smarter Balanced went over and added those targets, the target details to these Excel exports. Now, here's one really quick thing that I like to do. So I actually like to just scroll down to the very back, copy it from the bottom up, steal everything, and you could already see had an Excel sheet set up. You could paste it in, you keep all the pretty colors, format it the way you want. Why am I talking about this? Because you can rename the bottom, grade 5 ELA, right? So whatever you want to do. This is grade 5 ELA. You can make all these different tabs on the bottom. Everybody comes together as a PLC, because usually we'll have the 97 students. We'll be able to go over and identify, once again, celebrations, opportunities. But you can go over, build these into the bottom, share them out. And here's why I honestly don't care what I name these reports, because when I go back, here's a little hint. Just click Create New Query. It saves everything you did. And now I'm going to choose the next grade level up instead, recreate the report, and now I'm able to go over and get it really quickly. It just helps make it a little more efficient. So once again, little tip, that's a way to do it. It is not the way to do it, but you know, just going over and grabbing those target reports. You could also, as an administrator, go in. If you have groups connected to you, you can go in the same way that teachers go in as well, and you'd be able to see it for those groups of students. But this is the overall high-level way to go over and grab those reports. And with that, I'm going to go back to the presentation right now, and this is where I might get a little kludgy. Let's see how proficient I am with it. That's okay. I am actually proficient now with presenting. It only took me how many years of my life to figure this out, right? Wait, I still didn't get us there. I was talking too quick. Okay, so here we go. You saw me go over, have some fun in the sandbox account. So now it's going to be your turn to go over and get some hands-on time in there. So what you're going to be able to do, once again, using the sandbox account, you're going to be able to go over, try to use the role that's closest to yours. So if you're a principal, try to use a site leader, use district. If you're a teacher, choose a grade level that's close to you. But you'll be able to get in, navigate around. And so highly encourage, once again, these are options, whatever melts your butter, really. Search for CAST results by domain within the system. Search for ELA and math results by target. View the writing trait scores. Sometimes we call them WER scores, the written extended response for ELA. View those Lexile and Quantile scores for ELA math, or even just view target reports within the system. Once again, it's going over and being able to get in and use the system to go over and help you find whatever information you might need. And remember, nothing will break. This is a sandbox account. We've tried so many different ways. You can't break it. So go on ahead, click around, navigate, and have fun. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody back. Hope you had a great time going over, finding new things inside of CERS, or exploring a little deeper into some of the data that we have in there. And so what we have right now is a reflection activity. And so got a question. And so the question is going to be, how might I use the data to inform instruction? Really, some people call this great, so what, now what, right? So not just accessing the data, it's doing something with it. So once again, question, how might I use the data to inform instruction? Thank you, everybody, for going over and participating in that in the reflection right there. And so with that, we all get rewarded. We all get to the question and answer part. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nikki.
Yeah, so many great questions coming in. Please feel free to keep them coming in. We were typing answers in the question and answer box, but there's a few that we want to pull up and talk about. So the first question is, my site administrator or principal, someone at that site level, can access results in CERS, but how can they see results by teacher?
So you would need to upload student groups for each teacher if it hasn't been done already. And so once those groups exist, your principal can add himself to those groups and then see results by group. And so we're going to make a shameless plug. There's an Introduction to CERS microlearning video that has all about managing student groups in CERS if you need additional resources. So if you're a video person, you like to go over and see that. I like to see what it looks like or hear from others. Those are great resources right there.
Thank you. Our next question is, when can teachers see all of these ELA Math and Science and Summative ELPAC and CSA results in CERS? Like, is it now?
That is a great question. Had it been 10 years ago, they would have waited until August. Today, once they're available, they're already available for us in CERS as long as they have a Tom's user role and that students have been rostered to them inside of CERS. If they have both of those already and there are results that are already available, they're going to be able to see them. Once again, it's a brave new world. It's what do we do now that we have the data, available to us at a much earlier time? And so once again, if, let's say rostering hasn't occurred yet, really encourage going back to those CERS microlearning videos to go over and just see the steps on how we might do that.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, I'm unable to see my target information. It's telling me that there are currently not enough results available to display the target level report.
There's a magic number there. So the magic number is 30. 30 is the magic number. If you have 30 or more students with scores, that's when you'll start seeing those target reports popping up for both English language arts and math. So once again, write that number down. It's the number 30, 30 or more.
Okay, when I'm on, you showed us you were searching either as a teacher by a group or as an administrator by school and by grade, and we're on that results view in CERS. And I've selected a summative ELA or a summative math. And I click the claim button and it's telling me no scores reported.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question too. So, if you want claim information, that is available on the test results for California Assessment's website, that public-facing site, for, once again, here's the magic number, 30 or more students. In CERS, we have access to what are called composite claims. And so back in 2021, 22, or I think it was 2021, 2020, 2021, we adjusted our Smarter Balanced Assessment over here. We use an adjusted form, which is smaller than, or shorter than what the original one was. So with that shift, that's where we didn't have the claim results anymore over here inside of CERS. But once again, if you want those, once again, wait for the public information to come out on or before October 15th, and you'll be able to get those for 30 or more students.
Yeah. Or make sure you're clicking that composite claim button in CERS.
That's right.
Okay, did you say that teachers can see the target report, or was that only administrators?
So it depends once again. So 30 or more students, once again, that is the key. So teachers have access to target reports on that really cool drop down that we were looking at where it had the writing trait scores, student scores, Lexiles. There's an option for target reports if you're a teacher there. If you are an administrator, then you would go in the way that we were showing earlier through that custom aggregate report part. But both have access to target reports, once again, as long as you have 30 or more students.
Excellent. The very last question, I'm actually going to ask the question and then pass it over to whoever's doing the resources section so I don't give away the answer and steal all your thunder. But I've rostered my teachers to groups and CERS and they need some guidance. Is there like a cheat sheet or a one-pager or maybe some micro-learning videos or other cool CERS resources that I can pass along to them?
Yeah, there's going to be a really great series coming up next year, and you're going to see it in a few slides, where it's the CERS Essentials Training Series. You're going to see some links to go over and register for those.
That's the last of the questions we'll do for this Q&A, so you can wrap us up.
All right. And so we could still see my screen, correct? All right. So once again, let's transition over to resources now. That was a great plug to go over and get into some of the resources that are already available to us, and all of these are available on the CERS page. And so once again, there are a lot of CERS resources, and they're on the CERS resources webpage, and it houses the following. So you're going to see the CERS Sandbox, CERS User Guide, and it's going to explain all the different features and functions that are within CERS. It's really great because it's web-based, so you can go over and really navigate real easily through it. There's also the CERS Interpretive Guide. So I know we see a lot of data in there, and sometimes we're asking ourselves, what the heck does that mean? Well, that's where the CERS Interpretive Guide is going to come in. It's going to help interpret the assessment reports that you're seeing inside of the California Educator Reporting System, or once again, CERS. It includes all of the summative assessments, including the new CSA, or California Spanish Assessment. You're also going to have resources for understanding the California Educator Reporting System videos. And then there's also the quick reference guides. Those are the step-by-steps. And so that's what I think Nikki was kind of plugging us on earlier. Sometimes you're going to hear people refer to them as QRGs, or quick reference guides. They're great one-pager PDFs. And they're step-by-steps, and they show us really how to go over and do what we need to do. Go ahead, Nikki.
Can I
Yep.
add a plug for these? Okay, so we just expanded our series of CERS quick reference guides this spring. We went from like 4 up to, I want to say there's like 12 or 13 of them now. As Joe mentioned, one page, it's just the step-by-step instructions for how to do so many of the tasks in CERS. And shout out to Jill and Tammy at the CDE for helping us get those out.
You're also going to see, one more shameless plug, a lot of micro-learning videos. Specifically, you're going to see an introduction to CERS. And so those are just really great resources to go over and just constantly go in. I mean, if you have a question, it is here. I promise you, it is here on this page. Usually it is in a quick reference guide. And the name says it all. They're quick, they're easy. They're easy for us to go over and read through. We also want to introduce the new, even the logo's new. Introduce the new CERS Essentials Training Series. So I'd like to introduce that to everybody. This new free of cost training series has 8 quick 1-hour topic focused webinars. They're going to have live demos, time to explore, and opportunities to have CERS questions answered in real time by experts. Educators can choose from quick topic-specific trainings that are most relevant to your role, experience, or current needs. The sessions are offered once each during the school year. The first one happening in August 2026, coming up in a few months, and the last one is planned for May of 2027. We encourage teachers and administrators to attend together as a team to develop a shared understanding of assessment data. Everybody's hearing the same message at the same time. The training will support all CERS users at all levels in building understanding and competence, once again, using CERS. And so registration is open for the 26-27 CERS Essentials Training Series. And reminder, you did see the resource guide that Nikki had put into the chat earlier. Those links are inside of that resource guide. And lastly, we just want to thank you. We want to thank you for going over and sharing your feedback and going over, and thank you really for joining us today and participating with us. Thank you all on behalf of the California Department of Education, the Sacramento County Office of Education, and your training team today. That would be Aaron Gordon from San Diego and me, and we just want to thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of the year, everyone.